This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back into Viterbi Voices. This is episode
128.
128. This is, again, Viterbi Voices live from the Engineering School at USC. I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma. I am the Director of Undergraduate Admission at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
And today we are back with a faculty member, Dr. Hodge, Professor Andrea Hodge, who is a professor in the Aerospace and Mechanical Engineering Department, also joint appointments in the Mork Family Department of Chemical Engineering and Materials Science, and is currently serving as the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Programs at USC. Yes. It's a long,
very busy.
long title, very busy, very cool, and a very cool woman, yes?
Yeah, super fun to talk to Professor Hodge. She has so many just funny stories.
It's very funny. We got a lot off track. It was fun.
Hear a lot of laughing, but it was really cool for me, at least, to sort of see someone who obviously is, in a position in the university that's sort of representative of the university to just have a fun and honest conversation with us. So.
Absolutely. So before we get into the episode here, just a reminder that the application deadline is coming up on December 1st. That's for merit scholarship consideration. So make sure you go to our website, viterbiadmission.usc.edu/apply to learn more about the application process and start working on your application to get it in by December 1st. Also, coming up next Saturday is going to be our big on-campus open house. The university open house is called Discover USC, and as part of Discover USC, we have a big program called the Viterbi Expo. The Expo is part of Discover USC. It's all of us in the engineering school showing off everything that we got. We have large sessions on the application process in the engineering school overall. We have faculty and other graduate students and researchers leading micro seminars on specific talks in areas inside of engineering. We have lab tours so you can go in and see specific labs. And we have hundreds of our students coming out representing different student projects and student organizations. Go to viterbiadmission.usc.edu/expo or just Google Viterbi Expo to learn a little bit more about our program and to schedule your registration for that. It's going to be a big day. We'll have lots of stuff happening. So make sure you do that, and we'll get out of your way and hand it over here so you can meet Professor Andrea Hodge. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay.
Your name and what you do here.
All right. So my name is Professor Hodge, Andrea Hodge, and I am a professor in Viterbi School of Engineering in both aerospace and mechanical engineering and also chemical engineering and material science. Officially, I'm a metallurgist, so I kind of belong to both departments.
A metallurgist, because that goes between the two.
Yes. So we synthesize metals at the nanoscale, and we also do mechanical testing. So it really is both things together, so both departments. And I've been here about 12 years already. Yes.
Wow.
I know, amazing. And right now I'm on loan to the Provost office.
On loan.
Yes, on loan to the Provost office, and so serving as the Vice Provost of Undergraduate Programs for now 3.5 years.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
So you are currently serving as the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Programs.
Yes.
But before we talk about that, let's take a step back, all the way back. You got your bachelor's degree at University of Nevada, Reno.
Las Vegas, actually.
Oh, Las Vegas.
Somebody changed it in the website. I'm not sure.
Well, then you need to go in and change that.
I told them already. So, yes.
I'm going to send an email the minute we get off this, and we'll get that fixed today.
Wrong.
So UNLV.
Yes.
Okay, and you studied, was that mechanical engineering?
Yes.
Okay. And what got you interested in, or how did you decide that mechanical engineering was what you wanted to study for your bachelor's degree?
So actually, in the earlier parts of my life, I actually wanted to be a writer.
Really?
Yes. And so my family, for various reasons, we ended up moving to Nevada when I was a teenager. And so it really became a struggle with the language because I didn't speak any English.
Because originally you're from Colombia.
Yes, I'm from Colombia, born and raised. And so I didn't speak any English. And so it became very
When you
difficult.
moved to Nevada?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 15.
15.
Yes.
No English,
No.
straight into sophomore year in high school.
Yeah, no English.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a bit of a challenge. And so I think that writing part became like, oh my goodness, I don't even know the words. And so math was the same.
Right.
I was always a good student, so it was not like
Right.
I was always a good student, and so it was more like, okay, these numbers didn't change, so let's keep doing this.
Right.
And so I continued, and I was doing well in the things that didn't require lots of English.
Right.
And so, so they put me in advanced math and all these things, and then eventually into also advanced writing and things like that. But it was a little bit more of a challenge. And so when I finished high school and I was offered to go swim, because I used to swim in Las Vegas Gold swim team.
Oh, okay. So competitive swimming.
Yeah,
Wow.
my brothers did too. And so UNLV offered me a full ride. And,
Oh, great.
And so I was like, okay, this is what's going to be. And at that point, I knew I wanted to do something in the sciences.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't quite sure what in the sciences. And so I know I didn't want to do business. I know I didn't want to do medicine. I know I didn't. It was more like a process of elimination.
Right.
And
So therefore, mechanical.
so I picked the broadest one.
relate.
Okay.
And so I was like, civil, I don't want to do that. Oh, electrical, I don't want to do that. Computer science, oh, definitely don't want to do that. And so
With the perception that each of those have a very specific career, but you thought, well, there's not a specific career for mechanical engineering, so whatever,
let's pick
that's all
that
fine.
one.
Yeah.
Let's pick that one. And so, so at some point, so I went into that, and the math was really how I started, because it was very relaxing. I found it very relaxing. And so I have, people ask me like, what do you do in undergrad? I'm like, I mostly study. Like my Friday nights, I will do all the problems in the calculus book just because I didn't want them to ask me something I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
So I was a little OCD. No,
You're overcompensating.
Yeah.
You're worried about something.
Well, I knew I wanted to have a PhD.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't quite sure on what. And so
So why? Why was that important, but you didn't know what it was going to be in? I'm curious.
Because I didn't want to eliminate any choices because I didn't do well in school.
Oh.
And so I was very concerned that legacy of how I did in undergrad would limit choices I will have later. And so it's just a constant, again, it's OCD. And so I will go on Friday and they will assign you 20 problems and then I will do 67.
Oh my goodness.
And I really did not want to be unprepared. I think very early on, and when it was one of my swim coaches, he's now the swim coach at Auburn.
Okay.
He said something about successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people are not.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to do the 67 problems or 65 problems. So that was going well. And then the more I got into engineering classes, I didn't like dynamics that much. That made me question my whole choice.
Audrey's agreeing over here.
I'm just like, did I just do the wrong thing? It was going well until this class. And so...
But statics was okay, just dynamics.
Oh, yeah. It was dynamic.
So you should have been a civil
everything
engineer
started
then.
moving, and then and I was like, oh, it's physics all over again, nightmare. But I was like, okay, no, like still don't like the other ones.
Okay.
And made it through, and then really enjoy it. And so it was during my material science class that it was kind of like, oh, this is it. That's what I'm gonna do.
Really?
Yes.
And so then you went on to your master's in materials engineering at Northwestern?
No, my PhD.
Oh, straight to PhD.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's an MS PhD program.
Got it.
You enter as a PhD student.
Wow, okay.
And so...
And so you just straight out of undergrad went to Northwestern?
Yes.
Wow. How did you decide on that?
So when I had really good mentors and I said, they said, what would you want to do after you finish your PhD? So again, the question is always what comes after something you haven't even started yet.
Right.
So I was like, well, maybe I want to be a professor. I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure. And so I said, now I understood the whole university system in the U.S. a lot better because my parents didn't know. And
Right.
like my parents didn't speak English. They didn't go to college. So it was a lot of transition.
Right. Well, at this point, you've only been in the country for 7 years?
Yeah.
6 to 7 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was in SHIP, so it's the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. So one of the founding people for SHIP, and also Tau Beta Pi at UNLV.
Oh, wow.
And so I was, secretary, vice president, president of both at some point.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I learned a lot actually through that. That's how I got my information.
Oh.
So through the SHIP conference, when I was president, they sent us to this leadership conference at Boeing. And they talked about all these programs that you could apply for as a minority student to learn about graduate school.
Right.
So to me, information is priceless. Mm-hmm. So I signed up and I went to this program at MIT for about 4 or 5 days. And then they kind of show us like rankings matter. And, I started questioning, oh my goodness, why did I come to UNLV? But again, it's kind of, it's just, that wasn't a priority and that was not something that was informed about.
Right.
And so
you were told that's how you choose a place.
Yeah, and then,
which is wrong in the first place.
For graduate school, but for graduate school to open, again, looking at what you want to do later on. And so so I looked up and I said, okay, these are the top 5 material science departments. That's where I'm going.
Huh. Easy as that.
Yeah. And so I just told everyone that's what I was going to do. And so my mentor at that time goes, okay, great. So now you have to take the GRE. I'm like, another test? And so, so I learned a lot through that. I learned about fellowships as well. And so I was from swimming and just super disciplined. And so I think that's why I handle so many jobs now, because I'm always doing 40 things and like keeping a good schedule.
You like your to-do lists?
Yes, I'm very much into achieving something every day, even if it's just like washing my hair, which I did today. That doesn't happen every day. So it's just an achievement. I already accomplished something in the morning. That's how I got started. And so I applied to all the top places for graduate school. Uh-huh. MIT, Northwestern. I didn't apply to anything in California. I don't know. I was 19. What did I know? And so, but all the schools, part of it, I wanted to see how it was to be cold, because I never seen that. I never even seen snow.
You went from Colombia straight to Vegas.
Yeah, so I never even seen snow. So I'm like, that's so pretty, but I didn't know. So Urbana, Northwestern, Cornell, MIT, Penn State, and then I had a backup school, and I won't mention them because of the podcast. But so I applied to all 6.
Okay.
And then, I got in all 6, and I got fellowships for all 6.
Wow.
And so the professor I wanted to work with was actually at MIT. And then when I went for a preview day, he's like, oh, I'm moving to Northwestern. I'm like, oh, I'm going there next week. And
well, that worked.
So I ended up going to Northwestern, which I think ultimately was a better choice for me, because it was it's just a different vibe. It's very nurtured. Not that MIT is not, I shouldn't say that because my best friend's there. But it's just more laid back and very Midwestern.
It's just different culture.
Yeah, it's a different culture. But I think it was a culture that fit me better.
Right.
And so I think looking at it now, as hard as it was, I think that was a better choice for me.
That's great. And so this desire, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, how was the cold?
That's what I was about to ask. I was like, did you ever regret it?
I thought I was going to die. So
it's like, I want to go to snow. I'm like, then you're there for 6 years?
5.
5 years, and then you
years.
had 5 winters in Chicago.
But I did. So I thought, see, when you don't know about it, you thought it was Christmas and there's snow and then it's gone. And I didn't know it lasted 4 months.
Ice and wind.
I didn't know that either. So the first time that it got really cold, because to me, cold is 65, 70 needs a coat. I live near campus, and I was walking there, and I got there, and I was crying because I thought I was going to die because my eyeballs were frozen, and I thought that means you're going to die. And like, oh my goodness, I'm dying. And I remember talking to one of the people in my group who was from Michigan, and the other one was from Minnesota, and they're like, no. And I was like, you mean it hurts like this? Like,
this is normal?
Like, your eyes just going to come out because it's frozen? Like, they're like, they don't come out. I was like, I'm going to die. And so...
what I like is that it's November right now. It is, it's maybe 67, 70 degrees right now. And you have a scarf on for everyone. Like, you're drinking hot tea, you have a scarf on. Like, this is the vibe that we need to tell everybody about. And you're recording.
Yeah, so yes, I'm
That's
definitely
rough.
not...
I would be the same way. And this is why I've always been in Southern California.
But I didn't know. I really thought it was like 4 days of snow, and it's so cute. And you take a picture.
It's a movie, yeah.
Yeah,
Snowball
exactly.
fights,
That's like a Hallmark moment. Like, oh, there's a tree, and somebody kissed under the mistletoe. And
It wasn't that.
And I was like, how long does this last? It's like, it's January. When does it go away? They're like, oh, April.
Like, it's just getting started.
So that was an adjustment, a big adjustment. Like, people used to tell me that they forgot what I look like because I have like 50 layers on all winter.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
And it took so much to just take them on and off. I would just leave them on, so I look like, Lester from the Addams Family, because I just have coats and coats on, and like anything I could put on, I put on.
So I almost started this conversation with, why didn't you like the Addams Family? Because
Yes.
we've been having, so full disclosure, Dr. Hodge and I ride the bus together almost every morning. And so we see each other every morning in the bus because she moved to my part of the city. We live in Redondo Beach. I'm not going to give you address, but we're from the South Bay, and so we take this bus into campus. It's a great bus line. And so by the way, do you like it? Because I know you're still in your trial period.
In the bus?
Yeah.
I like it.
You're still getting used to it.
Yes. I think the coming to USC is easy. The going back is a little hard.
Sometimes, the buses are a little unorganized on the way back.
Yeah, and there's some kind of off people there, the homeless people. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It gets sometimes kind of scary. But I'm from Colombia, so I'm from Medellin. I can handle it, so no problem.
I was going to say, Medellin is a little bit different.
Yeah, boy, it was very different when I was growing up, so yes.
Right. But anyways, you're on the bus, and so we talked about this, and we saw bus ads for Addams Family, and all of a sudden you said, no, it wasn't the new one, the new animated one.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you're aware that they made an animated one.
No.
You're up to date on your animated features?
We
I'm
both
not,
have children, so we have to know all these things. And so it was just very slow.
Very slow.
Yes, they could have been like 4x faster. It was kind of like when I watch something like in German or in another language, that's the speed I need because I'm translating.
Right.
But not in English.
Right. It's like, this is boring. This is boring. You got to-do lists.
Yes.
You got to get through.
I'm here. House, you need coffee. What's happening? So,
Got it.
that's why.
Okay. Okay, good. Anyways, it's not getting a good review. So just as a heads up.
I won't watch it then.
Okay, the cartoon
Thank
was
you.
cute. They were cute, but the plot was very, very slow.
Okay.
So anyway,
There are levels to animated features. Like, there really are. Because there's one that comes out probably every month. And so, like, as parents, you have to be like, is this one we want to, like, think about? Like, is this one we really want to, like, spend time going to? Because you have to sit through it, too.
Right.
yeah. Anything from Ghibli Studios, I love.
Yes.
I adore the Ghibli movies. I mostly only watch cartoons and pretty mild cartoons because I think life is already difficult enough, and so I think in a way you create the environment that you need and the way that you want to bring yourself to the world. So I don't want to bring negativity. I don't want to be sad. I want to be, and if what it takes is for me to watch a cartoon, then that's what it takes.
There it is.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be known as Pollyanna than the Grouch. So, like, if I have to pick, I'll go with Pollyanna.
Absolutely. And there are plenty of grouches.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's kind of like my mode. Plus, in Colombia, that kind of having that good attitude and good vibe and being very energetic, that's kind of like very much with the culture or how I was raised. So it's not these, it's very warm and very open, and so I think that has a lot of influence of how I act and how I behave.
Yeah. So, sorry for that tangent.
It's okay.
So so you get your PhD from Northwestern, and then what happened after that? Was that coming straight here, or was there another step?
No. So when I finished my PhD, I was exhausted. So I spent part of my PhD at NASA Glenn in Cleveland.
Wow.
Which is also cool.
Yes.
And I wasn't, it was just a lot. As an experimentalist, there's a lot of things you have to fix, a lot of things that go wrong. And so you're pretty exhausted by then. And then I was ready to leave the cold. I'm like, okay, I think this cold thing with no sun is kind of depressing. I think of like myself more like a sunflower. I really do need that sun.
Yeah.
And so in one of the conferences, one of my best friend was already working at Livermore in the Bay Area, and they asked me if I wanted to go to an interview, and so I went, and they offered me a job on the spot.
Really?
So that was it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, it's warm.
Wow.
And so I went. So I had a job months before I graduated, and it was a postdoctoral position at Lawrence Livermore, and then that was great. Like the first 2 years or so, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the community, and I enjoy not having the pressure of getting a degree and just doing science and meeting amazing, super smart people. And so as I was there, then they offered me to be a staff scientist, which basically is almost like tenure. So I skipped all the steps, and they put me as a staff scientist. And I had an amazing boss and amazing colleagues. So I really enjoy it. And then it got kind of slow for me. And so after a couple of years...
It's a growing trend in this conversation.
Yeah. So I was like, it's like everything's a little slow. I don't know. I think of and I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of it, and again, I don't watch a lot of movies, but I guess the movies I watch leave an impact. But I think of it like a little bit like The Matrix. A lot of times in my life, I see like, what is that guy picking up the bullet? Like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, okay.
Like everything slows down for you.
When is this going to speed up?
Wow.
That's a lot of in my life, it just feels like that.
Okay.
And then I need to like speed it up.
Right.
Okay, this is too slow.
Yeah.
And so I decided to start looking at interview faculty positions, and I did 12.
Wow.
Really?
Yep. Quite a bit. Well, I mean, I was qualified, plus I was a Latino female.
Right.
So overall in the country, even right now, there's only 22 female faculty that are Latinas in research university in engineering.
There's only 22.
Yes.
Oh
So
my
there was a
gosh.
study last year from NSF. It was co-sponsored by NSF and one of my colleagues in San Diego, and she took a long time to do it. So the numbers there really is like 20 something, and then there's like 20-something associate professors and like 20-something assistant professors who are Latinas and are in research university.
Oh my gosh.
In engineering.
Wow.
So no medical school or anything like that, just engineering in a research university. That's it.
That's crazy.
And so...
Do you have a sense of that percentage of faculty overall? Like it's an incredibly small number no matter what that number is, but it's not even a percent?
Yeah, no, it's not even that.
Wow.
No, there's thousands of faculty in engineering and research universities. Even in Georgia Tech, that would be nothing if all of us were there.
Right,
Right.
Wow.
So it's very, very, it's a little disheartening.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the 12 interviews, and I went to a lot of places, and this was a place that really clicked for me. I wasn't necessarily looking to stay in California. I was actually pretty open. But after 12, you really see where you click or not click. And so...
There's different vibes, different places.
Yeah, like I had to be in a place that I feel like I can see myself there. And so the students, there was a lot of minority students that looked like me, actually. I like the Women in Science and Engineering program was also a big factor.
Right.
And I don't know, it was just, it just clicked. It was the best interview place that I went to, that I liked, that I felt like I could see myself here.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty simple.
This was 2006?
In 2006, yeah.
Okay.
2006, 2007. Since it was 12, it was a lot of time in between. It was like a year.
Right.
And then I started here in August 2007.
Isn't that interesting? It sounds very similar to talking to a student as to why they chose to attend school here.
Yeah.
Similar points.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, no matter who we are, we're sort of looking for people we can relate to in a place where, we can feel comfortable as students or, in the workplace.
But most high school students don't approach college that way. They think it's all about metrics and rankings and things like that. But then hopefully they come to that realization that's about where you feel it's right for you. And we talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really, first impressions and kind of how you feel, I think is very important, because it's where you spend a lot of time.
You're living there.
Yes. And so, here I am 12 years from, more than 12 years from that decision. It was the right decision. I mean, I walk around campus and I still think, what a beautiful campus. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I still meet students. I'm like, these are cool students. I always say, they're like Caltech students with a life. So that's what I told my freshman academy class when I used to teach it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you have to have either or.
It's not a mutually exclusive decision to be smart and academically rigorous and have a life.
Yeah. So, I mean, because I feel that how I am also breaks a lot of that prototype of, like, if you like this and you like that, then you could kind of be a good engineer, or you would not be a scientist. And that's not true, because ultimately engineering, we are in the service, we want to make people's life better. Whether you're designing a program, whether you're designing a bridge, whether it's the new material or something that will save your life, we help lives get better, people's lives get better. And that means we intertwine with people.
Yeah.
So you do have to have that connection. So these other ideas that engineers are odd, or this, or they don't connect, that's not true, because I can't, maybe besides doctors, I can't think of any profession that just so intertwined to just making people's life better.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't get we don't get the glory of it. We're kind of like in the quiet part. Like, I don't.
Always in the shadows.
Yeah.
Always behind the scenes.
But it's cool. I like it that way.
Yeah. Well, I like to think of it as, if engineers have such an impact on our life, wouldn't you want engineers to have lives themselves as a result of that? And so the stereotype is that they don't, but it's no longer, at least it's not true here.
I mean, it depends, because a lot of students like, what do you do? And a lot of what I do is intertwine with my engineering life. But ultimately, it's like, that's what I like. So that's what makes me happy.
You mean students ask you what you do, like, in your free time?
Yeah.
Got it. So what is that?
So a lot of times it has to do,
You're
like,
doing
I go
67
to
math problems?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. I have 2 dogs and 2 cats, and a child, so that keeps me pretty busy. But just, a lot of my friends are engineers and they're professors. So we do kind of go boxed up in there. But, I enjoy it. I go hiking. I travel a lot. Part of doing all this synthesis in engineering also leads to cooking. So I cook a lot, and I can make a lot. I told everybody, I can make anything you want. It's just a recipe. It's like a paper, and then we make it, except you eat it.
Right.
And so there's a lot of similarities between cooking and synthesis, a lot of steps. So the more complicated, the better. Oh. And I said, okay, whatever you want, I will do it.
It's the to-do list and the steps are continuously reoccurring on this conversation. Like, when you have things to do and you know what they are, then you will get through them quickly and efficiently, and you just enjoy that process. And because you enjoy that achievement of being done, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like my goal has never been like, I want to be famous or I want to be in the forefront. I want to have a fulfilling life. And to me, I'm ultimately accountable to myself. Right? So that's what's most important. And so that's kind of the drive is inside rather than external. So being famous, I think, okay, maybe that's cool. I don't know. Like, I don't want that. I'm not the person that wants, like, the birthday party with 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I'm the person, like, just send me a gift. You know, like,
I hear you.
but I am an extrovert. So there's, you know.
You like to control the environment.
Perhaps, you know, I can speak to anybody. I can go speak in public, you know, whatever. They're like, go do, okay, sure, go talk to who? Sure. You know, like I'm thinking as I'm walking there, so there's no problem. But I don't want to be like my party. Right. Or like
I hear
my
you.
thing.
All focus on you.
No.
Yeah, I hear you. That
like
makes sense.
if it's talking about science or engineering or something, then cool. Let's talk forever.
Right.
But
you're just a player in that game, but it's not about you.
Yeah, I don't want that. Like, no.
So cooking versus baking.
Yes, it's the same. I'm putting both together.
To you, it's the same.
Yeah.
But do you ever cook without recipes?
So I don't really follow all recipes. Okay. So I take it as paper. So in the paper, you only have part of the information, and a lot of it comes from your background, what you know. Right. And you're like, that's not going to work. Yeah. Or that's not going to work in this chamber, or that's not going to work in this with this chemical. So we're going to switch this, and we're going to add more of these, and we're going to add less of that.
Interesting.
So it's never quite exactly the recipe.
So like my wife and I get into debates, and I find this happens a lot. There's a trend that I notice, like chemical engineers more specifically love baking.
Okay.
Like for some reason, I don't know why. Like it's because it's similar to like a chemistry experiment. There's instructions, there's quantities, there's there's precision.
Yes.
And I can't bake to save my life. Like, and while yes, it makes sense, there's just follow these instructions, but it's just something that's not for me. But I love cooking, but I don't ever use a recipe, or if anything, it's like one that I looked at a long time ago that I get the basic ideas of like this much versus that much. But usually it's just like, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll throw stuff in. My wife drives her nuts. She's like, what are we making? I'm like, I'll do something. She's like, what do you mean you'll do something? What are you making? What's in it? How are you going to do it? I'm like, I don't know. I'll find out as I go. And I'll tell her, I'm like, why don't you make that thing that I make? Well, how much goes in? I'm like, I don't know. Some of this, some of that, it all works out. And it drives her nuts. But you're seemingly somewhere in the middle. Yeah. And I've never met anyone like that.
Yeah, I do it in the middle. So, like, I will taste it, and I'm like, oh, I need some more of these, but I don't measure it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that.
Are you like that too?
Yeah, I like to have maybe a guideline, but then it's based on what you have and what you want.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
That's good.
I can change the ingredients all the time, or I want a specific taste. Like, I like chocolate, but I don't like heavy chocolate cakes, so I will alter it so it's chocolate flavored, but it's not heavy chocolate because I don't like it. Or
the more we talk about food, I'm just hoping that you're like somebody who's going to bring something in here in a minute.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. We need to change the conversation.
Yeah, no.
All right, so you've been here since 2006 and 2007. I'm sorry. Excuse me. 2007, and you have joint appointments in aerospace mechanical engineering and chemical engineering because your research
in material science.
In material science, I'm sorry, and you defined yourself as a metallurgist in the beginning of this. So how can you help everyone understand what your research is in or what your focus is in?
So metallurgists are people who work mostly with metals. Mm-hmm. So like a blacksmith, but for this century. Yeah. And so we control everything at the nanoscales to try to make, let's say we can make aluminum, the same aluminum, but we can make it 4 times stronger or 5 times stronger by changing how it's arranged at the nanoscale. Wow. And so we try to improve the properties, and we look at things for like extreme conditions. So extreme conditions would be like going out of space. So, and again, with aluminum, let's go to copper because aluminum is too soft. A copper alloy, it could do what it needs to do here, but the conditions out of space are much more different. So you don't want to add weight because that adds fuel, but you want it to be able to withstand forces, little pellets that go really fast, things like that. Wow. Or just different radiation or if you go underwater, corrosion, and so how the same material alter at the nanoscale to now have properties which are 4 or 5 times fold of what it will do if you just buy it in Home Depot.
Right. So when you say you're working on copper alloys or aluminum alloys, it's not like the tin can or the Coke can that you're working on.
Yeah, no.
But this is a little bit, I mean, I'm trying to think of like consumer related products where people might understand it. And a company like Apple comes out with like a new device or a new thing, and they say this new alloy that we've invented or worked on, is that similar, or that's
yes, it is kind of like the same
version?
thing. I mean, they have different usage, so they could say, we made this case, so it's better for noise canceling, or
Right.
it's better for if you drop it, it won't break, and it will keep it light as well.
Right.
Like you want your iPhone to be like 40 pounds,
Right.
So those are like both metallic glasses alloys, and so it's kind of like the same idea. So think of ships or planes. So ships are in the ocean and planes are not in the ocean, but almost all airports in the world are near a body of water for safety reasons. So you have corrosion.
Got it.
So it's actually a billions and billions of dollar problem worldwide. So as the plane lands and the plane takes off, you have this hot engine, and then you have all this seawater, and it corrodes. So again, you don't necessarily want to add more weight to the ship or to the plane, but you want them to work the same. So how do you now really use all the science and technology that we have to make those materials better, so that you don't add weight, but now they can last longer, they're safer, they are engineered and designed in a way that they can sustain more of the seawater, they don't add the weight, or more like changes in temperature up and down, right?
Right, but isn't the current thinking that carbon fiber is kind of the solution to that, or you're saying that that's just one way, and then
That's
these are other
one
ways?
way. I mean, you have the whole realm of polymers and things like that.
Also
and
because of pressure and the depressurizing of the cabin over and over again.
it's different. You have multiple materials at play. I'm just talking about
Sure.
the metallic
Got it,
part.
got it,
So
got it.
when you talk about like polymers or fibers, now you're talking a different realm. And so here you have to look at what is the melting temperature, what is the operating temperature. And so when you want to look at really elevated temperatures, so you're looking at metals and ceramics, not polymers.
Got it.
So if you think of a polymer, and I'm not trying to badmouth polymers, but they're not my favorite. But let's say you leave a piece of Tupperware outside,
Yeah.
and you live in Nevada. So the hot and the cold, 3 weeks later it's full of cracks.
Got
And
it.
because of that, glass transition temperature is low for
Okay.
plastic. But that won't happen for a metal, that won't happen for a ceramic. The thing with ceramics, they have really high melting temperatures, and that is like, 2,500 C, 3,000 C or so, but they're not very good under tension, so they break, like your tiles.
Got it.
So metals are somewhere in between there. And so they're also good conductors. They can have much higher melting temperatures. So if you have an operating temperature of 50 C or 100 C for a polymer, a really good polymer, or a composite, because composites usually have polymers, then you can have an operating temperature of 500, 600 C for a metal. So again, it's just different functions for different things. So is it a coating or is it a full part? So it's like now like your cars, right? A long time ago, cars used to be pretty heavy because
Yeah.
it was a big piece of steel. So now they use foams. So this is cellular foams that will lower the weight something like 70, 80%.
Wow.
But then they're good for impact resistance. So
Right.
they're better than that big piece of solid steel. And your car weighs 70% less. So you also use less fuel. So it's the same kind of idea.
Wow.
This engineering the material in a shape or in a way that the grains and the materials form so that it has much better properties and you can use a lot less of it.
That's awesome.
When you kind of first started getting interested in material science as an undergrad, were you interested in metallurgy in particular, or just kind of all the crystal structures and all kinds of materials?
No, I think my epiphany was more like anything you want to do, you need a material for.
Yeah.
And then when I started my PhD and I started working at NASA, everything NASA couldn't do was because of a material. They had these beautiful designs of, for ships and this and that. and the designs ended up being something very different because they didn't have the material. And so as soon as they used things that were available, the weight went up, and then the weight went up, it redesigned this. And so it looked at the end nothing like the beginning.
Right.
And it was because they didn't have the materials to do the design that they needed. And so they had to work with what was available. And so I'm thinking, I can have a job for like 1,000 years because there's no way you can solve all this. And so now, like, we're doing all these quantum materials and all these things. Again, in order to move forward, you need the materials to do it.
Yeah.
And so, as far as I'm concerned, I have a job for the next million years. So.
And so much as you can say, your research now, are there any specific goals for end-use application? Are you focused on space, or is it just more for the research of expanding new materials for whatever purpose might be in the future?
I mean, some of it comes from the Air Force, and we're looking at things, again, for satellites and things for space exploration. We also have some Navy funding in which we're looking at making transparent strong windows for ultrasonic flights. And,
wow.
You know, and that this is actually ceramics.
Wow.
So cool.
But that they can sustain the impact. It's not just focusing on optics, but also the mechanical behavior, curvature, strength. So things that could be used for exploration in the future. So kind of putting those two together is pretty much an emerging field.
Wow.
There's the optics people, and then there's the mechanics people, but there's not really people in the middle.
That's great.
And so some of the stuff that we're working on, we have some corrosion projects with the Navy as well. And then some of them are just more basic to just understand how we synthesize these materials and how we can control it. And then think a little bit of how it could be scaled up, but that's a much smaller part of the research.
That's great. Very cool. And you've always had undergrads involved in your lab. And I think Shital is in your lab?
Shital is in my lab. I always... the undergrads, and again, because they're like, and this is probably how I ended up with being the Vice Provost Undergraduate Programs. So they're like, what do you think about the undergrads? I'm like, they're great. And so I love the undergrads.
Great, you're in charge.
Yeah, kind of like something like that, probably. They have done such a fantastic job, and I like to treat my undergrads, once I know that they're not going to break anything, because that's the first semester.
Sure.
Or really like early graduate students.
Yeah.
And so they I think if you set the expectations low, they're just undergrads, they don't know what you're selling them short.
You're putting a ceiling over them.
I want to see how far I can take you.
Yeah.
And so my expectations are going to be this high, and then we'll see where we end up, but not giving that constraint. Oh, you're just an undergrad, so you don't know. Like, yeah, you're just an undergrad. Here's the book, read it, and then be at the graduate level.
Right.
And so I had undergraduates that were just amazing, right? So, and they are MD, PhD programs. They went to graduate school. I had the Rhodes Scholar here, was also one of my undergrads.
Goose. Yeah.
And so, I mean, they were amazing. And so that also challenged my graduate students. I'm like, these undergraduates are,
They're bypassing you all.
like, you better pick it up because these are really good. But the part of it is that they also been so personality-wise so great, and that's what I liked about it, because it fits who I am. I travel with my undergrads, I travel with my graduate students, and we had so much fun, but like they're real people.
Yeah.
And like that's what engineers look like to me. Like that's what engineers are. So like in a way, my group is a self-fulfilling prophecy of what I think engineering is.
Yeah.
So if you look at my group, I have a lot of first-gen students, minority students, female students. That's what it looks like to me. So I think, the world you want is the world you create. So create it. That's kind of how I see it.
Oh, that's good.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
And then, so in your role as Vice Provost, I'm sure sort of that same line of thinking transfers over there because you have some agency to sort of shape research programs in particular.
A little bit of the research. A lot of it is just mostly just the strictly academics.
Okay.
Like what classes do you take? Whether this class meets that criteria or not.
The undergraduate curriculum requirements.
Yeah, some of that, as well as just programs to support the academic success of the students. So that has been very interesting because it spans the whole university. And but it's working with student government, which I wouldn't do, if I was just in Viterbi. And so just really understanding that other side of things and being able to help the students most of the time. Some of them may not say, oh, no, but I'm like, you were asking for something pretty crazy. That's why I couldn't help you. But most of the time, we can help them out or we can guide them. And it's always to, I started the conversation with, I believe you. How can I help you?
Right.
Because when student problems come my way, they already escalated quite a bit. So they tend to be quite messy. But I'm like, let's start with, I'm going to believe you. I want to believe you, and you're going to believe that I'm going to do the best I can. So let's start with that.
Right.
And then I think it's a good way to start. And a lot of them do get resolved. And some don't, unfortunately, but they were just too messy.
Right. And so overall, as a vice provost, how has your day-to-day changed from being a professor in the engineering school?
It is more restricted because there's meetings and schedules. And so I feel like
more of an administrative role.
Yeah, that I lost a lot of my freedom for just doing whatever I want. And so it's hard. Also, writing proposals is very difficult because I get interrupted constantly.
Yeah.
So and I need concentration. So the proposals take me twice as long to write now as I did before.
Right.
And it's just because, here I am talking about hierarchical structures of, 100 micron size. And then somebody comes and is like, oh, what do you think about GEA? I'm like, what? So it's such a big switch that it just take me a while to come back.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, we're doing this luncheon for this and that. And like, they're so far apart.
Right.
So that's the one thing that I found a little bit challenging to write the proposals. So planes are great for that. Long flights are good for that. I'm a really good flyer. A 10-hour flight is really good to write proposals. And then also just weekends are good to do that. So, kind of switch the schedule. And really, I'm always looking at optimizing. It's like the constant in my life. So when can I get the most? And not to wear yourself out, but to really find where you optimally performing. So, okay, I've been here, 3 hours on Saturday is equivalent to 2 days during the weekday proposal writing.
Right.
So that's kind of how I try. I have I'm always calculating everything.
Yeah, but do you ever unplug?
Like what you mean by unplug?
Well, that's my next question, which is how do you unplug? Like how do you recharge? If you're worried about optimization, at some point you have to factor in the recharge. You have to factor in the downtime.
So luckily I recharge quite quickly. So if I'm reaching a limit, which at this point in my life I should know when limits are, and let's say I take a day off, that is also optimized to recharge me.
Right. Yeah.
And then the next time I'm like, oh, I'm all good.
Right.
So luckily I recharge very quickly.
Okay.
So that's also optimized.
But outside of academia and research and administrative roles, and let's say you're going to take a weekend.
Yes.
Or you're going to take a day. I probably that's asking too much for you to take a weekend. But let's say you're going to take a day and you're not going to do anything else. How would you enjoy that? What's fun for you?
No, but I take weeks.
Okay.
But those weeks are not separated.
Right.
So to me, being able to go hike in the Swiss Alps and then work on a proposal in the
same trip?
In the same trip, that's all good to me. Like, really? That's inspiring to me.
Okay.
So I have every single vacation I had, I've been working on a proposal. I can't remember a single one. But the fact that I'm on vacation, that I just go in a 2-hour hike and it's so beautiful, inspired. I want to write something beautiful in my proposal. So it is disconnected. Like when I'm hiking, I'm not thinking of that proposal. I'm thinking how beautiful everything is. And then when I come back, I'm like, so I don't know if I really fully disconnect, but, when I go to sleep, I don't remember anything. I touch the pillow and it's the next day.
You're out, yeah.
So people are like, oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
So obviously I do disconnect, or like I go and turn off.
Yeah.
So.
Is your daughter like that?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit?
So it just, but she's 11, so she has more energy than I know what to do with. Even when she's sick, she's like, I'm sick, so I'm just going to run around and jump. Okay. Like, that's what I do when I'm feeling good. So, but it's just, I really, like, if you ask me about last night, I don't remember it. And I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
So okay. I don't know. Obviously, I can disconnect at some point.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I really, so I was in this conference in Malaga a month ago, and it was the conference, and it was like science, and then we had some time off, and I just felt so good. Like, like I felt like, even though I was in a conference, I felt like it was a vacation.
Yeah,
like, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, I feel so invigorated, like all this great discussion. And then they give us paella for lunch every day.
Wow.
Like, I guess, when I talk to my daughter about it, it doesn't take very much to perk me up. So I think it's like all these little things, and I'm like, I'm happy. I'm like, ooh, some candy, I'm good.
That's amazing.
Like, so it doesn't take a lot to keep me like, oh, okay.
I wish I could be like that.
A free
like,
Diet Coke, woohoo.
I get days where I'm just like, I am not productive here at all. Like, I am just not working.
No, I do have days like that, and then I just leave.
Like, you just recognize that you have to disconnect from this particular...
Yeah, I just leave. And I will send an email to my group or to whoever. I was like, I'm not good today, so I want to do super good tomorrow, so I need to.
Right.
Today nothing's coming out, so I need to go. And then I leave. But that's one of the...
Speaking of which, I guess I should just leave.
Well,
I'm out. So we've been going for about an hour, so I want to start wrapping up. But I do have one other thought for you. So you're from Medellin, Colombia.
Uh-huh.
You've lived in Las Vegas, and you went to school in Las Vegas. You lived in Chicago. You lived in Cleveland. You lived in the Bay Area. How do all these rank for you as far as locations? And how do they rank food-wise? I'm always interested in food. And because we've talked so much about food, I'm interested in your opinions.
So, I try not to concentrate so much in location. If you ask me what my favorite place to be is, and then I will say Germany.
Germany. Okay.
Any of the places you mentioned. I have lived in Germany for about 2 years if you add it all together.
Got it.
So not continuously, but if you add it together, a month here, 2 months here. So then that's what I probably feel most at ease. But I eating wise, I'm not a foodie, and I am a picky eater, so a lot of it tends to be something I cook, so it's independent of that location. I wasn't so thrilled with Chicago food. Everything was like really chunky and heavy.
Yeah.
Vegas, I was a broke undergrad, so what do I know? Like, I like whatever was free,
right,
was good.
Yeah.
And then in the Bay Area, it was like really like cool.
Right.
I like Mendocino and things like that. I like that very organic kind of food, but they have it as well here in LA.
Do you have a go-to spot here in LA that you love going to?
But it depends on the type of food, and my food depends on the type of mood.
Got it.
So I'm very, so if Italian food, I love Osteria Mama.
Where's that?
It's in Larchmont.
Okay.
And they are Italian from northern Italy. And Mama passed away, but I met Mama when she was cooking. But they still kept her recipes, and it's really like going to Italy.
Wow.
So I love Osteria Mama. I already tried all the osterias, so I think that's the best one.
Okay.
And then I really like Koi.
Okay.
Which is kind of sushi. I found a new Mexican restaurant, but I actually forgot the name of it. It's in Redondo, and so it's in South Redondo.
South?
Yeah.
Is it on PCH?
Yeah.
Ortega.
I don't remember.
It's something Ortega.
I don't remember,
right
but
on PCH,
it was super yummy. But
I know what you're talking about.
So it kind of It kind of depends. But when I'm in Germany or when I'm in Europe a lot, for some reason I crave Mexican food. Even though I did not grow up eating Mexican food. There's no Mexican food. No. I didn't have Mexican food until I was like 18.
Right.
Or just like people like, oh, you don't like mac and cheese? I had mac and cheese when I was 30. Like, that was the first time I had mac and cheese. Like,
you didn't grow up with it and acquire that taste or love it when you were a kid.
No.
So there's no reason you'd ever love
it. It's a different, like,
yeah.
You know, like hamburgers, you know, that's also weird. Like, I had hamburgers, again, mostly in my 20s.
Yeah.
Pizza, it took a while to like it. Mm-hmm. I only had pizza once before I moved to the U.S. I mean, now in Colombia it's much more international, but back then you didn't really eat that. And so, but pizza is something that I would say that's the most integrated part. I could just eat pizza every day, but it's not good for you. And I also like it for breakfast because you could just heat it up.
Okay, so that's a debate in my house. My wife will eat cold pizza, and I don't like eating cold pizza. Audrey?
I'll eat cold pizza.
No, I don't like it cold. I like it hot.
Do you like it heated up for breakfast?
Yes.
That's weird.
Like for me, like part of growing up is you can do all these things you couldn't do when you were young. So it's like a piece of pizza with some candy and a Diet Coke for breakfast. Yes.
So I think we just discovered why you're always on a sugar high.
That's amazing.
I think that's an excellent place to call it out. A pizza, a piece of candy, and a Coke for breakfast.
What I'm having for lunch.
We just came up with the title for this episode.
No. Then my daughter would hear it and go, you see, I don't have to eat broccoli.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Sorry I talk so much. So.
No, that's what you're supposed to do.
Okay, all right.
That's what you're supposed to do.
All right, thank you.
What was your favorite part of that? There's a lot to go over. There was definitely a lot.
Oh gosh, I need to think back. I think it was really cool to hear about Professor Hodge as an undergrad and kind of like the amount of work she put in.
Overachiever.
Yes. But I think obviously like I'm studying mechanical engineering and I can relate to the Friday nights doing problem sets.
Problem sets. Yeah.
So you know, I think it's cool to hear her story of kind of working so hard, just so continuously. And, you know, she talked about being exhausted, you know, after her PhD and kind of, I have not gotten the PhD, but I can get a sense of that feeling. So it's,
right.
I think it was just, it's good to hear someone's experience.
I really enjoyed how, I think it's important for our audience to understand that the most successful people never had a specific plan.
Yeah.
It's just that there was, and she talked about it, successful people are willing to do the things that unsuccessful people don't. So it's an idea of working hard and it's not about things coming too easy, but it's also that you don't have this very specific, like plotted out, you know, predetermined, I will do this and then I will do that. I'll get my degree in this. I'll get my degree in that. And this is what a lot of engineers are like, actually. But our prospective engineers think that they're supposed to have it all figured out. And we spend so much time talking to these high school students about, like, it's okay. You're going to figure it out as you go. If you got a general direction that you're heading in, or you're following the things that you're passionate about. And for hers, there was a slightly different story with English proficiency, and math was more comfortable for her. But as a result of that, it was just something that she continued to follow, and it just kind of kept leading in that direction. So that's why I always talk about students just follow the things that smell good, like follow the things that you're enjoying and getting a positive feedback loop off of. If you're a hard worker and you'll do fine.
Yeah. It's harder to follow that advice than to.
I know it's harder to follow that advice, but it's one of those things that
Totally. I think even through my time here, remind myself that every day, because there is, of course, a lot of pressure to know what you want to do.
But who puts the pressure on you?
Yourself. So,
right.
So you got to keep it in check and just focus on doing well. And I think it's cool to hear about Professor Hodge and all the work she's done as a result of just working really hard her whole career.
Well, think of it this way. When you started your first year here, did you have any thoughts of Microsoft?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you just kind of...
So it just happened, right?
Right.
And it's just like, oh, that seems interesting. Okay, I'm liking what I'm hearing. I've met the people. Right. That sounds cool. Okay, I'll go intern there. And now all of a sudden you're like, You're like knee deep. You're all. I mean, our previous conversations are like you're a Microsoft aficionado now. You have you've joined the ranks over there.
I don't know about that, but
Well, you're a fan. Though,
yeah,
and you enjoy working there.
yeah. So definitely a fun conversation to have, and good for everyone to hear. I think whether in high school or in college already.
Absolutely, very cool. I don't know what else we need to talk about.
Oh gosh. Just podcast is on a lot of platforms. You don't have to listen on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music. It's all there.
Yep. Wherever you're getting this.
That's exciting.
Although they've probably already listened to it somewhere if they're listening to this.
That's
right
true.
now.
If you've made it to the end, you know where to find it, which is exciting. So don't need to chat about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing else for me.
Okay.
But anything else from you, Paul?
The reason I'm stalling is because I can't remember. But, the Expo, Viterbi Expo, Saturday, November 16th. We talked about it in the front. ViterbiAdmission.usc.edu/expo. The scholarship consideration deadline for your application for first-year students is December 1st, and so that's for first-year students. Transfer students, don't worry, it's not till February, so we got some time for that. I guess that's everything.
I guess it is.
I guess we'll just slowly back away from the microphones and just let it
fade out. Just like we love to end it. All right.
Bye.